the first time you ate until you were full, probably in China, had to just be like a out-of-body experience, right?
It was really sad.
Really?
It wasn't very happy experience. Like, I mean, a lot of North Koreans, like, what we wanted is like eating boiled egg
Boiled egg?
because that's the fanciest food that we can have.
Mhm.
So we never, like, I never ate until I full. So I thought like I would at least eat a bucket of boiled egg, right?
Like a whole bucket, like 50 boiled
Or
eggs.
like it's 100 I thought I could eat.
Okay.
But when you actually eat them, after 5, it's very hard.
After 5? Yeah.
Yeah, it's also, I was like 13 years old. I was like, I'm like 80 pounds. I was like 60, 57 pounds. I was a lot smaller, just escaped. So my stomach was so shrunk too. And my stomach's not used to processing the fat food and like a lot of oil in it or protein in it. So I got so nauseous and throwing up a lot.
Sure,
Because
okay,
my
that makes sense.
stomach was not adjusted to the food that Chinese was eating. And mine was like always like no, ingredients, just pure plants.
So a little anticlimactic to eat until you're full and then be like, actually, I wish I hadn't done that.
Yeah, it's like in the movies you would be like, that's amazing, awesome. But actually, if you're starved all your life, you cannot really digest the food a while. It took many years for me to eat the food like here.
Yeah.
That has so much different calories and fat and everything in it.
Do you love eating now?
Of course,
Yeah,
I do.
right?
I live for eating.
I mean, anytime, like my wife is also like a very small Asian woman,
Yeah.
and there's you all have like a hollow leg or something. I mean, the amount that like an 80, 90-pound Asian woman can eat is like it's mind-blowing. It's
Because
more
like
than-
evaporate, it all evaporates.
Yeah. It's like it's coming out her ears or something. I just don't know. It was so funny just to see, like, we'll go out with a bunch of her friends and I'm just like, where are you putting this food, y'all?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. Of course you love eating now. I mean, who doesn't, right? But
Yeah.
that's very funny. The first foreign movie that you saw, I heard, was Titanic.
Mm.
And you can get in trouble for watching foreign movies, right?
Yeah.
It's-
Sometimes death sentence.
Death sentence?
Sometimes, yeah.
So it's kind of hard for me to wrap my mind around
Mm.
risking your life for Titanic. Don't do it. It's not worth it.
Yeah. Well, it's in a way that in a country you have really nothing to lose there, even if you get killed in a way that you wanna get killed sometimes, right? Like, I mean, even if you don't get executed, you're gonna might die from starvation or something. So it's easier for North Koreans to risk their life than Americans do, because in America people have a lot to lose, but North Koreans are not. And also it shows when North Koreans watch those movies, it is the only time they can escape from their misery, their suffering. So yeah.
Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. Were you surprised at all watching Titanic that in 1912 that people had more and better things than you did in 1994 in North Korea?
Okay, remember what are all those like forks and knives, like the order, right? The
Right.
DiCaprio does not. I don't know either. And then like seeing all the plates, I've never seen those plates in my life. And but also like the whole movie, there's no propaganda. And guy just dies for a woman for his like love. It's very confusing. In the beginning, I wasn't even touched.
It's confusing even if you. It depends on who you are, but it's
Yeah.
confusing for us too sometimes.
Yeah,
Like,
I
bro, you're
know.
gonna freeze to death? You just met.
I know it's. Yeah, I think it was. I mean, the funny thing is, that was a long movie, so we were watching with this like big cassette thing. So you need at least 5 of them.
It's like a reel or a VHS tape.
VHS tape. So it's a huge tape. And they only like usually have maximum 30 minutes, 40 minutes each tape. It's
Oh.
like actual film going like round.
Oh, okay.
So if you want to watch a Titanic, it's like 1 box of tape.
So this is like a Chinese movie format.
Yeah.
Okay, because I've never seen anything that you could fit Titanic on one VHS tape, I think.
No, like back in North Korea, it wasn't. You need tons of the things. And also, you don't have electricity. It comes only the holidays of like Kim Jong-il's birthday, Kim Il-sung's birthday, or maybe the New Year, right? Only holidays the electricity comes. So finishing one movie can take months.
Oh yeah.
It's not like you just thinking like you sit there looking at the entire thing. No, it takes it's a battle. What they call.
Oh man, yeah. So that makes you appreciate it, even if it's a corny movie.
Whatever
like that,
you watch, like I remember, people used to like, don't you not like the ads? So I remember I like watching ads a lot. So sometimes I go just like turn on TV. I don't have like the cable, but when I go like hotel rooms, I just look at like ads. And so I store Chinese a signal in North Korea when I was living in Haesan, so across the border. Looked at this like a milk, strawberry milk
Strawberry milk?
ads. And I never seen the strawberry like that. I never even see the milk. I did not know that cow made milk. So I was looking at it, what the heck is that? Right? So I'm drinking the strawberry, it looks so delicious. And even looking ads for North Koreans is like the most like mind-opening thing experience, because we don't know what strawberry is, we don't know what milk is.
So yeah, because you can't really get fresh fruit or anything like that in North Korea.
We don't have a refrigerator. Where do you keep it?
Right.
And I mean, we don't know what watermelon is, and we don't know most of food. Like I never knew what steak was. You know what? Like none of the food, pasta, pizza. I mean, like never heard about it.
Even in the black market, though, in your border town, they must have had some candy and clothes and things snuck in from China.
Black market, but those like perishable goods.
Oh yeah.
Like I mean, like cherry, Norway, and also the difference is that we do have wild strawberries.
Strawberry?
Wild. The one that grows up actually in the mountain.
Oh, wild strawberries.
It's the little tiny thing.
Sure.
Not the one like this this big.
Right.
So I did not know that was like a strawberry.
Yeah,
so
it's
the
like
food
a freak fruit.
Yeah, food looks very different here. When I go to grocery stores in the beginning, I had no clue what they were. Like the cherry tomatoes, because North Korea's farm is so behind. They don't do genetic modification at all.
Right, yeah.
So like, what the heck tiny thing is called like a tomato, right?
Yeah. That must have been such a trip as well to see all these things. I mean, even now I don't know what a lot of the fruits are, so I can imagine if you've never seen anything like that, like the whole grocery store is just overwhelming.
Yeah.
Jeez. What's the deal with the radios in the home, right? So when I was there, there's the radio in the wall, and you can't turn it off, and it's like straight out of Orwell's 1984.
Yeah.
And it plays the news, but it's just propaganda being piped into your house. But what are they saying? Like, is it just the same thing that's on the TV?
So it's not radios that they give out for free, thank God, right? But because it's like in the used to be you have more electricities when I was younger even, then every home have to put it on. And you can turn down the volume, but you cannot turn it off. It's like connected to the wall. And also to make sure that people's unit, we call the people's unit, everybody has been this people's unit, they come and check on it and make sure that we are maintaining well. So this is when they tell you like do you know at noon it's like beep, which means lunchtime. So you do not do individualism. You eat lunch all together.
Oh.
And in the morning they wake you up.
Yeah, that's so weird. I was in a countryside hotel and they're playing this weird music at like 5
a.m. It's like morning music
and
to
I
get
thought,
up.
am I tripping right now? What is that? It's like there's this ghostly music playing in the morning, and then there's like, you know, something that sounds very spirited and
But that's a work time.
Yeah,
so
work
that's
time.
at 5 a.m. Everybody have to go this collective mobilization. So the families, the moms cannot go or sick, then children go out. So that's the time when the music blasts, we work. And then 7 a.m. we come home, eat breakfast, and then go to school. Everybody go to work. And then we go to class, and then like lunchtime it beeps again. And then when it goes home, like it tells you entire schedule. Everybody moves in the same schedule.
There's if you don't have electricity, then those things don't work. Is that what those vans are with the loudspeakers on them?
Oh yeah, exactly.
So they're doing the same thing. They just do it for the whole village with Okay. I thought that was probably what that was.
Exactly. They use actual humans. So in North Korea, they pick the people who has a good voice. And
so that would be like my job in North Korea, is just yell at everybody in a village to go to work and eat lunch.
You have to feel them inspired. You have to feel them like really brainwashed.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
That's so depressing.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Or the accordions, right? In North Korea, we don't have the instruments that needs electricity. So accordions and guitars are the most common instrument. So every music is used to be brainwashing.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you ever seen those kid performances? Those are so creepy, because the kids are really good at dancing or guitar or singing. But then also it's like their whole life, it's like the Olympics of being good at propaganda and having no artistic flair for the thing that you're practicing your whole life. And they're like 6.
I know, like there was a documentary I really recommend you to watch. It's called Under the Sun. and he's a Russian director, goes to North Korea and say like, oh, I'm gonna like make a documentary about how you put up this some parade or something, and then like they do it, but he did not edit. He filmed before the thing and after the thing, so which was everything was show.
Oh, so it was like B-roll. The
Yeah.
B-roll turns out to be the BTS behind the scenes is the actual documentary.
Yeah.
The rest of it he threw out.
Exactly.
Oh, that's interesting.
But what shocked me, this is like a 9 years old girl. It's like a Jinmi, right? This time she was holding Kim Jong Il's actual arm at the parade the other day because everybody thought she get killed. So she was like used as a character who was very blessed in a socialist paradise, having a wonderful life, and then she was like, okay, she's like, why don't you just like maybe read a poetry? And then she doesn't know what poetry is, so she reads her commitment oath to their leader.
Mm-hmm.
And then he at the end asked like, because she was not happy because she was not like doing good job. It's like, Jimmy, are you happy? And then like, what's that?
Mm-hmm.
She does not know what that is. What happy is.
Even emotions are off limits in North Korea. That is wild.
And yeah, so these kids are so brainwashed, and they're like become robots because all fear.
Robots. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I noticed that there's a lot of sort of robotic, tired people. Well, actually, I should say I assumed it was because they're tired. There'd be people who, when they're standing and they're like at a bar serving food, and
bar?
yeah, like
there's
at a
hotel. Bar in North Korea. Oh,
yeah,
wow.
like at a hotel or or at like like a restaurant.
Wow.
And they're standing there, but when they're not interacting with anyone, they just do this. And my friends and I were like, is she sleeping while standing up? And we learned shortly that she was actually like sort of sleeping because you could see her moving, like losing her balance gradually. And we realized that she was so tired and so malnourished that she was literally falling asleep while standing up and working.
Right.
And I think like to live your whole life like that and to not be able to have access to your own emotions, you're right. They're like robots.
People don't live after 60. Most of people, like that's the thing in North Korea, you never hear that people died from stroke or people died from like cancer. We don't wait that long to get killed by disease. Like other things kill us first. So North Korea's life expectancy is extremely low. My grandmother died, I think around American age, like 58 or 59.
Wow.
From starvation. And everybody was like, oh, she lived a long life.
Which is crazy because at 59, you're like in America, you're probably in some of your prime. Your kids maybe are grown, so you're kicking ass at work and you're doing your thing. You're maybe going to retire pretty soon. You're not winding down. No, unbelievable. I know that people have asked me this before. They said, oh, is it true that if you fold the newspaper wrong, you can get in trouble? And I think we should highlight some of the things that you have to do in North Korea to the performative nonsense, right? So if you fold a newspaper incorrectly, if there's a photo of the leader, that's it, right?
You might get a concentration camp, but if you rip it, so every front newspaper in North Korea is a Kim's photo, but back page you don't see it. So sometimes you do not see the front page and then you rip it. That's how you get executed.
Ah, okay. So of course it can be accidental. In a hotel,
it's accidental at all. Yeah.
In a hotel once, there's these magazines they give you on the flight, and it had every single one obviously has like Kim Jong Un's face on it. Before it was Kim Jong Il, so I had a magazine with Kim Jong Il's face on it, and I put it on the table in the hotel because I wanted to keep it. And then there's an ashtray, and I put the ashtray on, and I put my coins in it, and I put it all on top of the magazine because of course in the United States you never think about this. Who cares? It's a magazine. When I came back, all my stuff was arranged neatly, and the magazine was gone. And on the way home on the flight, they seated me in the back next to, I think like some sort of North Korea. Usually they separate the foreigners and the North Koreans. They couldn't. I had to seat next to this tough looking guy in the back, which is a little scary. And I wanted to borrow a pen, and he gave me a pen. And I had the in-flight magazine, and I wanted to write something down, except for Kim Jong Il's picture was on the cover, and I was writing on the back, and he grabbed my arm and he was like, no. Wow. Because if you write on it, it makes little indentations on the other side that damages the photo. And I just did nothing for the rest of the flight because I thought, what happens to me if this guy gets really pissed off? Like,
right. Otto Warmbier. You can torture that to
right. Otto Warmbier. Yeah. And this is before that, before that. I haven't gone since. But that kind of thing is, if I feel that level of fear and I'm like, look, man, I live in the United States. What are you going to do? We're on a flight. We're leaving the country. I can only imagine what you feel when you've seen people's parents disappear. That must be happening at school, right? Someone's parents or even the kids you're with, they're just gone.
Yeah, I mean the whole family goes, like the 3 generation goes. So if the North Korea, your house get fire, like caught on fire, the first thing what you do, not rescuing your children or your mom or parents, you rescue the portraits of Kims.
The portraits that you keep in your house.
Yeah, everybody have to have portraits of Kims. So if you let that get caught on fire, that family clan is dead. And send to prison camps, yeah.
So you're supposed to save these stupid printed photographs of the leaders instead of your own kids.
And there are so many, not just the portraits, maybe portraits, okay, this picture. There was a tree.
A tree?
A tree that Kim Jong-un looked at, or Kim Jong-il back then, Kim Jong-il looked at. And then those trees are like, it's like a treasure, national treasure, because our dear leader looked at it at one point. Not touching it, just looked at it. So that thing was caught on fire. So somebody held it and protected it. I think it's maybe myth they created, and that's like what a national hero looks like.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, so even a tree, that's how you have to give your life for.
I've seen this. That's right. It's funny you should remind me of this. This is such nonsense, right? Because you'll go to like an ostrich farm or some dumb, stupid tourist thing that you don't even want to go to, but they make you go. It's all on the itinerary.
Oh, really?
Like an ostrich farm is literally an example of it, or like some sort of glass plant or a chemical factory that has never been. That thing hasn't run since 1968. Like it's been off. You can tell it's not a working factory. It's really obvious. And you're going there and you can see like, oh, this is the chair that the great comrade General Kim Jong-un sat in when he was inspecting the factory. And then there's like a huge mural that took months to create. And it's like, they call it on-the-spot guidance. Have you heard of this?
Yeah.
It's where he like walks into...
Although letters on the wall, what he said at the time when he visited.
Yeah, it's like here's this guy who's never seen a chemical factory and he's like, hey, why don't you put that tank closer to that thing? And they're like, wow, what a genius. He's revolutionized the way we make chemicals. And I'm thinking... To show up and tell other people how to do their job must be the most annoying thing in the world. And they're just like, well, paint the entire wall, write down everything he said, gold plate the chair that he sat in for 5 minutes, and then make like a golden tile on the floor and then never step there again. It's just so ridiculous. The whole thing is myth.
But like when you read even North Korean magazine or newspaper, the description of Kim's like takes one paragraph. We are like the greatest leader of our people, the army of the something, the party of the something, and the something, the youth leader of something. So the introduction takes a paragraph.
So it's like Grand Marshal, leader of the free...
blah, 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 goes. So going down, and then actually content begins there.
It's like reading a post on Forbes.com. It's like all fluff. Right? One sentence of content, the rest of it's nonsense. BuzzFeed journalism. Oh, they've turned it up lately. So, all right. You thought the leader could read your mind. I know that there's these self-criticism sessions as well, where you're kind of like, I guess it's kind of like Catholic confession, where you air your own failings, but you also have to kind of narc on other people, right?
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
That's a difference. So it's not like, so it's more like, I think Chinese people also during the Cultural Revolution, they denounce people. Right. Exactly the same thing. Even children have to do it. This is where they completely teach you how to teach you that you don't matter, and make sure to like get dignity of human being gets rid of that at that point, right? You're not even a being anymore. Only reason you exist because of the Kims. That is the only your life purpose. So you write down the verses that Kim Jong-il said, which is maybe student's job is studying hard and working hard for the party. But it's like this week, based on his it's like Bible verses. We have the book.
Bible verses.
It's like, that Kim said, I don't know who said, but maybe party wrote it for him, right?
Sure.
And then we said, he said this, but compared to his words, I was not faithful revolutionary. So dear leader, like for his merciness, he forgave me my sin. Now, this is the difference. It's maybe Catholic Church, you can do that too. Maybe God said this week I didn't do a good job. But at the end, but also thing is you can never say what I did right.
So it's only one direction.
You always have to be a sinner. You always have to be guilty. You always have to feel grateful and sorry for being you. right? Like that's how they make you feel like you are not worthy of anything, degrading you. After that, you have to pick somebody, and that is called even kids. So entire week, Saturday, the self-criticism session coming in, so you have to look for people's fault, because you cannot get away not criticizing somebody.
Oh, wow.
So it's a real thing that you look at other people. So you early on learn how to look at other people's behaviors, spying on them and their faults.
So you're programmed to the distrust is programmed from the jump in your classmates, right? Because you won't say, "Oh, I didn't do my homework last night because I was watching something with my parents." It's like someone will tell on you, and then you look bad in front of everyone. So you never
get punished.
right, and you get punished. And if you did anything actually bad, then you're in even worse trouble. So it's just finding any reason to denounce anyone. For any reason, including yourself.
And also it's like a kind of quota. You have to criticize somebody. So it's a real job to finding it. It's a real job. Entire year you spend on who's doing what are they doing wrong. Because you have to do self-criticism with other people.
Oh my gosh, it's exhausting to think about.
But imagine being in school, like middle school, high school, it's like 6 years program. But so during the 6 years, how many times do you think you're going to criticize somebody?
Is
every
it weekly?
week.
Every
so it's Saturday.
Hundreds of times, thousands of times.
By fair artist and official every 2 days. Because they think artists' minds are more vulnerable to change and corrupted by capitalists.
Yeah, they're right.
Yeah, so they have to do every 2 days. Then how many times you have to hate somebody and criticize your friend, your comrades. So that's how they make sure everybody hates each other. Everybody do not trust each other.
So you can't, since there's no trust, you can't agree with your friend like, all right, today you complain about my dirty uniform, tomorrow I'll complain about you. You can't even make any kind of pact.
Yeah. So when everybody's divided, who wins? The party wins.
The party wins, yeah.
Yeah. That's how they divide you. Because the division is helping them. So they do everything they could to divide every single one of you. And that's why I was so shocked when I came to America. It's like people are so trusting. Like they are so trusting and like unbelievable how trusting these people are. I mean, talking about your feelings with your therapist, how do you trust? It's like complete based on trust, isn't it?
Your therapist here, even if they aired your dirty laundry, people would just go, wow, that's really unprofessional. They wouldn't be like, oh, Yeonmi has trauma? That's terrible. We're going to laugh at her. No, we would think the therapist is a terrible human for sharing that, right?
Okay.
It's the opposite there.
Yeah.
Therapy is a little bit weird coming from a place where you're supposed to denounce and not have any secrets with anyone, right? I guess, yeah.
It was weird. I'm honestly, I still don't think I can be completely honest with the therapist because I still have that trauma. But with the friends, I'm becoming more like open. Just tell them how I feel. That has been amazing because in North Korea, you don't talk about how you feel.
No.
It's nobody asks how you feel or what do you think. So it's a really new thing for me to talking about your feelings here.
Yeah, that's it's got to be so hard to. I mean, looking at a relationship in North Korea versus a relationship here, you have no model for a healthy like marriage, for example.
Zero. It's been very hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you were married before, did you find it hard to share actual feelings and secrets with your ex-husband?
Yeah, I think communication was the main issue.
Yeah.
It was very hard.
Because if it's like, what do you think? And you're like, I have no opinion because, you're not used to having, or you'd never thought about it.
Yeah.
Things can bottle up, right, over time.
Also, I think, giving the benefit of doubt. In North Korea, if somebody says anything, oh my God, you're reporting on me. You're something doing bad at me, right? But here in America, even people really give you benefit of that.
Yeah, we're supposed to. Sure. Yeah.
Not in politics, I feel like.
Not on Twitter. Right.
Yeah.
But everywhere else. Yeah.
Yeah, when it comes to personal relationship, people do in general. I think people are very charitable here when it comes to interpretation.
Yeah.
In America.
Like you said, oh, can I be a little bit later to the interview? I didn't think, oh, she doesn't want to do it. Right?
Right.
Okay, she's got a lunch. It's far away. I don't know.
No.
Yeah, that's interesting. You're right. We are as a culture. And in fact, it's almost a virtue here to trust people. Yeah.
It wins when you trust. Everybody wins.
Right.
And not the dictators, though. They lose.
Right. They lose. Right.
They want you to not to. That's why it's so scary now in America. Just how seeing everything flipping is just so unbelievably scary.
What do you think of China heading more towards authoritarianism too? CCP has never been kind of like a global leader in human rights, but it's definitely getting worse.
I mean, China at this point, they don't even need a human sources to report on them. They got the facial recognition, they got social credit system. So what you write online, what you throw on the street, the traffic lights that you don't obey, how you park, it's everything. How you spend, what you spend on, what you watch. They calculate all your score already for you. So in a way, China is more like and it's not a brave new world. In a way, like if somebody asking me, would you choose George Orwell's 1984 or Brave World? I would choose Brave World. I'm so sorry. Because I want to rather be dumb and happy and be fed and healthy, right? Because I know what it feels like opposite. I mean, of course, I want to be free and suffering, like what we are right now. But China it's not like becoming brave new world. They are, in a way, like 84, like Big Brother. And I don't think that regime's ever gonna make you wanna happy and take care of you.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
even I study Chinese online, and my teachers have told me things. I'll ask them about the social credit score. Often they don't want to talk about it, but if you develop a little rapport with somebody, they told me that one of their colleagues, who is a man, when you use WeChat, which is like their WhatsApp version, it'll say underneath his profile photo, like, this person does not pay his debts or something, and his social credit score is low. I forget the exact phrase, but basically, like, imagine I'm sending you a text message like, all right, we're ready for you now. And below my profile photo, it says like, this guy never pays his friends back and isn't allowed to fly on airplanes. It's so creepy, right? And you're just like, do I want to do this interview? Jordan's not allowed to fly because he's a bad parker.
Yeah. I mean, it's just unbelievable, like how, this world is changing so fast. We thought that democracy was winning, the freedom was winning.
Yeah.
Apparently not.
No, apparently not.
Yeah.
I was in North Korea with you. I don't know if you caught that downstairs.
Yeah, I caught it downstairs.
Eating part of your salad, and I was
Right.
like, let's leave the guy alone.
Right.
But I was in North Korea. I spotted you. We were in one of those, I don't know, mandatory museums where you got to sign in and everything. Because we didn't know who you were. My friend goes, "Is that Dennis Rodman?" And I was like, no, of course not. Why would Dennis Rodman be here?
Right.
And then we look in the book where we sign in, and my friend's like, that says Dennis Rodman on the paper. So we signed our names right next to yours, and took somebody's got a picture of it somewhere.
Right.
But to run into you in North Korea was just definitely was something else. I know you gave a toast to Kim Jong-un, and you said something like, your father and grandfather did some fucked up shit, but you're making a change. Your entire entourage must have just like clenched up everything at that point.
That was funny though, because I was like, I gave a toast to him and to his birthday. And I
Kim
said,
Jong-un.
I took Kim Jong-un. He was sitting right beside me. I stood up and said that fucking thing. My friend said, you know what the fuck you just said? I said, nope. I said, great. So he's like, I said, whatever. But they clapped. It's like, but I said, but he's trying to make a change. And I said that. And I actually meant it. And he really didn't take offended to it.
What was he like? What was Kim Jong-un like, just personally?
He was cool to me. I mean, he was fine. We ate very well.
I'm sure.
We ate very well. We ate like 9-course meals every fucking meal. It was like, okay, you want a duck? Bring it on. You want a fucking cow? Bring it on. You want a chicken? Bring it on. I mean, everything you want. It was right there. It was like the whole table full of food.
What was the weirdest thing that you guys did? Because it must have been like normal. Okay, but we're in North Korea. There must have been a point where you were like, did he just say shoot rocket launcher? Like, there must have been something weird that happened partying with Kim Jong-un.
He don't say stuff. We never talk about politics.
No.
We never talked about politics. We never talk about, the starvation in North Korea. I'm trying to cut you on that one. We never talked about the military, which I saw a lot of that stuff, which I didn't care. It was more like entertainment. We never really got in depth with the politics of North Korea and America.
Yeah.
We never talked about that. That ain't even never been brought up. We just talked about life and sports and skiing and snowboarding and I mean everything. We talk about stuff like that every day. We just had something new come up. We go play horse or go ride horses, stuff like that. But it's funny though. We have clips of North Korean people praising Dennis Rodman. I mean, I go to an orphanage in North Korea, and these people put on a show for me. You see all the dignitaries sitting over here. I'm sitting in a chair by myself. Everybody's sitting around, and the kids will come out and put on a performance for me.
Mm-hmm.
People don't see. People never saw that. I got footage of that. You go to a stadium, you got 160,000 people sitting there clapping to you and saying your name. People don't have never seen that. And you're on the stage by yourself, 160,000 people sitting there clapping to you. Never saw that. And
That's
then
crazy.
when you go to go to the hospital, people sit there and say, we're glad you're here, glad you're here, glad you're here. Stuff like that. People don't see that, And that part right there, I was trying to relate that back to America. So, these people are not bad. They just don't know.
Mm-hmm.
They don't shelter, but they just don't know. And I wasn't trying to convey, okay, great, I'm going to go back and try to prove the fact that North Korea is great, even though I'm fighting against a fucking losing battle, And I just made it clear the fact that I want to bring sports to North Korea. I want to communicate that way. Open the door that way. So, people won't be afraid to go to North Korea. It's okay to go there.
When are you going to go back?
Well, Donald Trump opening gate.
Let me in now.
Let me in. I always said Donald Trump won't open the gate back up because of me.
You don't think Donald Trump will open up North Korea because of you?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Ask him. Because
I
can say it would be different. It would be different, and I want people on your social media and Instagram and your podcast really pay attention to what I'm going to say. It'll be different. It'll be very, very different if I didn't go to North Korea the first time and make awareness the fact that there was someone hostage over there. It'd be different if I didn't go there then. If I didn't go there, I guarantee you, this will never be happening right now. We will never be talking about North Korea because before I went there, we didn't give a shit about North Korea, even though they were doing the same shit, doing the same stuff, but no one paid attention to North Korea. I started to go there and start giving awareness what's going on in North Korea. That's when shit started to come to light. Donald Trump didn't do that. Fucking that president didn't do it. Obama definitely hated my guts because what I was doing, he couldn't stop it. Trump didn't do it. Only reason why Trump only reason why Trump even had that summit because to me, he said, okay, great, let me go over there and try to make peace. I love Donald Trump. Me and Donald Trump, we have a blast together, stuff like that. But I'm saying, though, no one ever thought about having a meeting, a summit with North Korea 7 years ago. Nobody even thought about it.
That's true. And Kenneth Bay did give you, if you need to, she's got a little bib for you or something. I don't know. I don't want you to
bleed all
over the place.
Right. Because I'm moving around so much. That's why.
Yeah, well, I got my credit card on this room. I don't want blood everywhere.
Well, blame it on the girl.
Yeah.
Whatever. Blame it on the girl, damn it.
There's the clip for Instagram.
Right, there you go. There you go right there. So we're almost done. We're done anyways.
Almost, yeah. I have one little rap thing. Kenneth Bay did thank you for the increased attention. I mean, he was the guy that came out and he was like, hey, I think Dennis Rodman helped get me out of here.
All right.
That guy was there for a long time.
Long time.
And I knew how hard escaping North Korea would be without any money or food. And I knew that if I was caught, I could be killed. But those risks overweighed working in the dark coal mine every day until it's my turn to the limp or die. So one morning, instead of entering the mine, I walked up the path and began running. And I ran off from the coal mine, and I was living on the street for 3 months. So I escaped coal mine in 2011, May of 2011. And then on a humid day in August, I was lying down on a hillside. I have no plans whatsoever. I was just homeless because I didn't want it to die in a coal mine. I escaped, but I have no way how I'm going to get to China. But I was lying down on a hillside. And in the distance, I saw a train come to stop. And people were exiting out with train cars, middle of nowhere. I'm like, I wonder if I can steal something. And I walked down the path and I looked at the sign. It says Pyongyang, from Pyongyang to Haesan. Haesan is like the border town, right? I'm like, oh my God, this is my chance. I need to get on that train. About hour, so I walked into the crowds and I I try to like blend in, and I was pretending I was belong there. And then as soon as the power came back, or as soon as the train trying to move again, people were trying to get into the train, and I joined the line. And the guard stopped me and asked me like, "Oh, can I see your documents? Can I see your birth certificate?" I'm like, oh, shoot. And I lied that, oh, my mother had them and that she was already on the train. And he nodded, and I headed straight for the train bathroom to hide. For the next 2 days, I was hiding on the train. Sometimes I have to climb out of the window, hide on the top of the train, or sometimes I have to come down and sit on the hitch between the two cars to avoid the guards. And if I was caught, I'll be ended up in a labor camp somewhere, most likely. In the middle of I think it was a night, yeah. I was almost the border town when the hand of guard grabbed the back of my neck and dragged me to a holding cell on the train.
A guard found you?
Yeah,
on the train?
Yeah, on the train, because it was like a midnight, and I was so cold, and I was like sleeping in the like a nearby bathroom, and then suddenly like I felt something kicking in my back, and then the guard dragged me to a holding cell on the train, and there are two other boys in the room who have been caught too. And as the guard locked the door to the cell, he told us that we will be handed over to the authorities at the next stop.
Is the crime taking the train or trying to escape? They don't know that you're trying to escape yet.
They don't know that, yeah.
It's just illegal to ride the train.
Yeah, illegal to ride the train. So like, oh, you'll be handed over to the police at the next stop. I was like, gosh. And then, I thought about like how terrible the detention center have been, like long days of manual labor, sleepless night that I've, spent memorizing the rules, and the constant feelings of hunger. And I refused to let that happen. I refused to let that happen again. So, as the train began to slow down for the next stop, I saw a window was unlocked. So I pushed it open and squeezed out of the small opening, and I jumped off the moving train, rolled into a ditch, and began sprinting for some nearby trees. I walked for like hours, illegally catched a second train, and 2 days later, I finally made it to the border town. Yeah.
You jumped out of the moving train.
No big deal.
Yeah, no big deal.
Because the train was preparing to stop, so it wasn't that fast.
Okay.
And then like on the side, it was like it's like a grass, and if it was a hard rock, I'll probably die. I would probably broke something, but I'm fine.
I love how to you this is not that big of a deal, but to us, I can't even imagine.
I would not jump out of a moving train. I don't care how slow it is.
A moving train, you're stuck in a room that a guard has put you in. I don't know. I think I just trying to understand the psychology of that, because I'd be like, no, they put us here. This is where I have to stay.
I'll explain myself when I talk to the police.
But at this point, you've been through so much. You're just like, you know what's going on.
I know what to do, because like that's like regular day life for North Korean like homeless, because they get caught all the time, and they were sent to like an orphanage. But a lot of kids escape orphanage because that's like worse than living on a street, because they don't feed you in orphanage. So a lot of orphanage kids would escape, like from the orphanage. So
you're in the border town now.
Yeah, right? Now I'm finally in the border town, right? And then when I first escaped North Korea in 2008, I made a few friends at the Hesan City, and then I went into his house, right? In the like 5 a.m. in the morning, and like, hey, like I'm trying to escape again. Will you come with me? Because I needed somebody, because before in 2008 when I escaped, I had somebody in my back watching over me. But this time, like I'm completely on my own. Like I don't know how I'm gonna cross. I don't know how I'm gonna like get around the river. Because there is like rules. 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. you can only allowed to go during that time. Otherwise, if you wander around the river, you're gonna get shot. Because like they think of you as like escapee.
And you don't have the protection of the broker.
I don't have the protection anymore. So I was like trying to like convince this kid to escape with me, right? And he said yes. he's gonna escape with me. I'm like, oh my god, thank goodness, because that kid knew like really well around the border and like a river which is shallow, which is like. And then like we're planning on escaping like, we're planning on escaping the next day at night. But like this kid goes out and comes back and saying like, I don't think I can escape with you anymore because I met this chick. She so like in North Korea, like it was August, right? So there's like a chestnut farm in the mountain, like a wild chestnut, and then you sell it at the black market, and then you go camping there to collect the chestnut. But this guy knows one girl who he has crush on her, right? And he finds out that this girl is going to chestnut farm, and then she invited him to go with her. And he's like, dude, this is my only chance to get to know her.
God.
I'm like,
What guys will do just to get a little
right? I'm like, now I'm sitting here, I'm like, I really hope that girl was worth it, dude.
Yeah. Like, should I leave the most oppressive regime on earth? Yeah, but I might get some at this chestnut farm, so sorry, bro. Yeah, I might get laid at the chestnut farm.
He skipped escaping for a date.
Yeah. So
he better have married that girl.
Yeah,
Do you know?
I'm not
You
sure.
have no idea.
I'm not sure. I have no idea like what he would have done. But
did you feel like you had to ask somebody else for help because doing it alone is scary and having somebody with you makes it more possible? Or did you just need him to tell you where to go?
Cause like he would be like mental like guide, right? I mean like having
mental guide.
Yeah, having somebody next to me, even though we get caught, we have like better explanation, right? Oh, we're just friends, wandering around. And it's just like, oh, like we just escaped, and like no big deal. But like by myself, like I have to explain myself, right? So I guess like having him next to me, I guess it like gave me a lot of like motivation, right, to like go a little further. But for myself, I didn't know if I could do it, but I'm already determined. I'm not, even though I'm gonna die, like I don't want to die in there, I'm gonna die here. So in the afternoon, the next day, right, in the afternoon, I walked into the river that divides North Korea and China, which is Yellow River. And then I hid in the tall grass for, I don't know, until the darkness. And I couldn't really move. I had to just remain like this position, looks like a shrimp, because like it wasn't windy, and the grass was like whole still, and if they see it's moving, because they're a flashlight, if it's moving, they're gonna come down and check, right? So I couldn't move at all. And when it was finally dark, and I thought it was my time. And then I slowly walked into the water. And then I was like walking, and like my brain is completely blank. Like I don't think about anything, but I just feel the cold water. It's so cold, and like my heart is like beating in my throat too. And then halfway into the river, I slipped on a rock and I let out a scream.
Oh man.
Cause the water current was so fast, and like I couldn't do anything about it, right? And I think I let out a gasp. I wasn't screaming, but I let out a gasp. And then immediately a floodlight was on my back, and I heard a soldier screaming at me.
Oh man.
He's like, "야, 이 새끼야, 안 돌아와, 안 돌아오면 쏜다, 서라." He's like, you bastard, come back here and stop, or I will shoot. And like at that point, I'm like, I'm dead anyway. Like if I stop here, I'm gonna drown. And if I, I thought like I was dead either way. Either he would shoot me, or I would obey and return to the shore, only to be shipped off to labor camp, right? And I decided not to stop, and I kept waiting ahead. And like each step like took me further away from North Korea and closer to dream of my freedom, which is China. But the guard was kept screaming at me, but he never pulled the trigger. And then 5 minutes later, because the thing was like the river was like this way, right? River current was like this way, but like current was so fast. So if I left it from here, I ended up here, right?
Down the bank.
Yeah,
the
down,
river,
like
yeah.
further down, right? Cause like he was like keep like chasing me, and then I arrived at there, and then I went into the cornfield. Corn, like there's like a big corn farm. And I
You're
went
in
into
China
there.
now.
I'm in China now. And then, like, I made it.
A lot of people were asking us last time, and we stopped at this point. What do you actually do there? What do you do on a trip to North Korea? Because as we'd mentioned before, you're always with your minders, your tour guides that are essentially designed not just to make you have a good time and show you things, but to make sure that you don't wander off or see something you're not supposed to. Different trips and itineraries and experiences, they depend on the length of the trip, your interests that you tell them ahead of time, the time of year, because some things get cut off by snow, for example, and there's no heat and electricity in many parts of the country. They also include all the standard stops. So there's a mausoleum where Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il, the two original leaders of North Korea, are buried in state. In other words, they're in open caskets preserved in, what is it, like argon gas cubes, basically?
Yeah, they're like glass cages. It's like Mars Attacks or something.
Yeah. They're basically, they look like wax figurines, but they're in like a gas cage. It's beyond bizarre. There's museums that you have to see, like you don't have a choice. There are cultural sites that are possibly somewhat fake or totally fake that you definitely have to see. Most trips are 7 days. Some are 10. A few can be longer, although, God, what would you do for longer? I don't know. You can join a standard group tour, or you can create one of your own for a smaller group. And there are specialized tours for specific areas and interests. And you can get pretty niche. There's train tours. There's a business and economic tour where they probably show you things like the ostrich farm, only like times 100. Here's the water bottling plant. I remember seeing one of those. There's also an aviation tour, Gabriel. I was thinking about this the other day. They were like, come back and do the aviation tour. And you get to fly a small plane around the country.
So I actually didn't go on the aviation tour, but I took one of those planes. The like two prop small propeller planes up to the north of the country. That was,
oh my God,
an experience. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit worried about it, because I mean, just taking the jet from Beijing to Pyongyang is a little bit, I wouldn't say you don't feel like you're in danger, but you're like, are they checking the engines as regularly? Do they have the same regulations? I like to think that China is like, yo, you better be checking your planes before you take people from our country into your country. So I guess that gives you a little confidence. But once you're inside North Korea, is there any guarantee that they have regulations that demand that they check like the planes at a regular interval, that they can get the right parts, that they're not using knockoff parts? I don't know. It was a little bit sketchy, but also one of the coolest experiences I've ever had. Mostly because I lived through it. That was probably the best part. But it's an experience to fly over North Korea from one of these tiny little planes. And just, you feel like you're stepping back into like the late 70s or something, early 80s, and you're flying over this country in 90 minutes, hanging out with people like 20,000 feet above it's an experience. So I can see why they would want to package that into a tour of its own.
Yeah, you were not with any locals though, other than your guide, right?
Well, it's funny you ask, because we were with my group this was when I was being hired to lead tours to North Korea for a few years. So I had my people on the plane, and then at the very last minute, they put a bunch of people on the plane, and they sat in the back behind a curtain and they didn't tell us who they were. They didn't tell us why they were going to the north. They were just like, yo, these people need a ride, so we're taking them. So I'm guessing that they were government officials, perhaps, just people who needed a ride. And, oh yeah, the Americans are in town, and they chartered a plane, so why don't we just piggyback on their ride and get up there?
That is, oh my gosh, that is that's one of those spooky little anecdotes about North Korea, right? Where there's people on the plane. And I remember one time I was flying back to China from there. We're getting into stories already, but that's okay, right? We're flying back to China, and I remember talking to some guy who he had a Russian passport, but he was Korean, which I thought was really interesting. And I said, "Oh, what do you do?" And he's like, "Business." And I was like, "Okay."
Question. Sorry, was this guy Korean or was he Russian?
He was Korean, but he had a Russian passport.
But he had a Russian passport. Okay,
so he looked Korean, I should say, but he was Russian. But he spoke Korean and Russian because I heard him speaking both, and he spoke Russian with an accent because I could hear it.
Yep.
And so I remember saying like, "What do you do?" "Business." And then I was like, "Okay." And he spoke English pretty well, so I was like, "Okay, well, obviously you do know more." And he had a DPRK passport too. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And there was another guy there that was Russian who I don't know if he was with him, but I think that he was. And I said, "Okay, what do you do?" And he's like, import, export. And I was like, "What?" And he basically was like, various implements. And I was like, "Okay." And I just kind of got
implements?
Yeah, he said like implements. It wasn't, I don't know if he used that exact word, but basically I go, "What exactly is it?" And he says like aviation or avionics and things like that. And I was like, okay.
It's not number 2 pencils. Yeah.
No. And I it was so obvious that he sold like missile parts and plane, stuff for like the military, because that's the only real business. Like they don't import children's toys and they're like, "Oh, good, we have a thriving children's toy industry." They pretty much only do military stuff there a lot of the time, like for the international stuff. They only really invest
stuff that you need
that
when you're trying to fend off the outside world.
Right? Exactly. So it was a little bit strange to sort of see that. And like he had like diagrams with him and stuff that looked, they were like little missile fins and stuff. And I was like, all right.
That's cheesy ass 80s spy shit. Just boarding a plane with like conspicuous diagrams of the weird things you're bringing into the country. Always.
And there's always such characters to and from these flights to China from North Korea. And there's always
where do you go from there? You're sitting next to this guy. He tells you that he's in avionics or whatever. And then
he just wasn't really interested in talking.
Want to talk.
And he was behind me, so it was kind of like extra work to turn around and bother him. So I was like, all right, I'm fine with it. There's always so many strange things that happen there. And I ended up having to move once on the plane, and I got sat in the back next to all of the North Koreans. I was the only person there in that section. And they were kind of like visibly not annoyed, but nervous that I was there in a way. And then the guy who was sitting next to me switched out with another guy who was like younger and tougher looking. And that guy sat next to me, and he was like, he basically wouldn't let me do certain things on the plane. Like I was trying to read the magazine with Kim Jong-un's picture on it, and he was like, "No."
What do you mean no? He's like, "This is not for you," or what?
He was like, "No." Yeah, and he basically tried to take it away. And I was like, "Souvenir," and he was just like, "No." He wouldn't let me take it off the plane. He actually took it away from me. And I was like, I'm not going to fight with like a secret policeman or something like that on a plane. Yeah. It's not a good idea.
You're almost home. It's probably not a great conversation
and like, what if
into.
they keep me on the plane? Is China going to be like, let that guy go? Or are they going to take me back to North Korea for assaulting a police? You just never know with them. And it's like, how bad do I want this magazine?
Totally. And you make a good point. A lot of the funny stuff that happens in North Korea, you just don't expect. It's just these, what is the word I'm looking for? Serendipitous is the word I was looking for. Just those serendipitous little things, like when getting on an airplane is always an adventure. There's always an interesting mix of people. The other interesting people you meet on the airplane is, okay, so do you remember that first year we went on the plane home? We ended up sitting in a group, like near the back of the plane. There was a group of Korean young kids, I want to say probably early 20s, 18 to 25 or so. And they were very clearly Korean, but they looked different from all the other Korean people who were on the plane. And they were looking at us, and you could sort of tell that they wanted to chat with us, but they were a little hesitant. They didn't know what to make of it. And so we ended up just talking like, "Hey man, what's up? Like, you coming back?" And they spoke like perfect, beautiful English. And it turns out that they were ethnic Korean kids, but who lived in Japan. Do you remember these guys?
Oh, yeah, right. And that's when I found out that there are North Koreans that like went to Japan and never came home.
Yeah, and they have North Korean passports because their parents were from North Korea and probably during the war just happened to end up south of the DMZ and then probably made their way to Japan, or perhaps left Korea when it was unified and it was under Japanese occupation and went to Japan and just got stuck there before the war broke out. And so they are allowed to have passports and they're allowed to come back because they have family and they have a tie to the country, but they are Japanese culturally. And remember, like, they had like different clothes and they were wearing like pink ties and they had like cool like Ray-Ban frames, and it was so interesting. They were like, "Why are you here?"
Like, because you could tell they were like, "We don't even love coming here. It's so freaking weird, but we come to visit our like great grandparents or something like that."
Exactly. I just love talking to those people. You realize how interesting. I mean, the Korean diaspora is a topic in and of itself, but you get little glimpses of it in those moments.
I have many times questioned myself if I have been asking a North Korean citizens on the street a question to my guides and asked him a question and he asked her and they came back and translate. I don't think they ever asked him my questions because the answer I had back was, we are so happy to live here and we are so proud that our President Kim Il-sung built this country for us and we will do whatever it takes for him and his family to have a healthy life. And you know it. And when people ask me, how is it to go to North Korea? I say, well, it's quite difficult to describe because it's like your whole body is, on overtime because you are being followed and you have maybe from the guard some silly, crazy questions and you need to think, what do I say and what do I do? How do I react to things? One of the most difficult questions I had was, we went to the Manso Hill and they revealed the 2 new bronze statues. And then,
these are giant statues of Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il that were unveiled, I don't know, in like 2013 or something like that after Kim Jong-il died?
2014? 2012.
2012.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was participating in that moment and Kim Jong-un came by in a great car. I don't know what brand it was, but it was a very big limousine and people went practically, freaking out. And after that, we went to the bus, and then one of the guys sat next to me, and he said, "Mr. Larsen, how do you feel?" I said, "Well, I was surprised that the young successor was here tonight, and it was a great firework and very beautiful. It just showed me how you love your leader." And he, but Mr. Larsen, how do you feel in your heart?
Oh, wow, that's interesting.
And then I said, I feel this kind of, it's warm, I feel comfortable. For 10, maybe 15 minutes, he keep asking me about my heart and my mind of this particular situation. And then finally there was a young guy with age 22 or something, and he could see what happens, and he could see that I was starting to get a bit, go away or leave me alone or something. And he just
uncomfortable.
Well, can I ask you a question? I was like, thank you. I had nothing to hide, but it was just uncomfortable because it was my heart and my mind, my heart and my mind. And do you feel the same in Denmark for your prime minister? And I was like, well, sometimes maybe, and other times it's a finger up the air. You know? And it's like, can you do that? We can even make jokes with our leaders and our queen. And I knew the answer, and I said, do you never have like a teacher where you make funny stuff with your president or leaders? And I was like, no. Like,
no way.
If that happens, he probably got shot or killed or tortured or something, or all the kind of things. So it's really, you really have to be focused the whole time. And especially when I have a mission, it was really not to do any harm to anybody. And
do you think he wanted an honest answer? Like, do you think he was like, no, come on, just tell me the truth? Or do you think it was kind of like a trap?
I think it was like a trap to find out if I really was in this association and care for the country and maybe not even be a journalist or a CIA agent, because one of the things they have told me many times is that we are very careful because the CIA would love to be in our country to place microphones or chips to put in buses to see where things are. So they are really suspicious to everybody they don't know. And with Alejandro Caro de Benas, the president for the International Friendship Association, he's the gatekeeper of North Korea. And he's really a mean person when he's in North Korea. And
I've met him in North Korea, and he was extremely rude, mean. He deleted a bunch of people's pictures without permission. He just picked up their camera, took memory cards away from people, and they're like, hey, what? Come on, I just spent like 3 days taking photos of everything. There's nothing on there. You can look through it. And he would just delete everything and say, no, I'm the one who tells you what you can take photos of. He strikes me, so his name is Alejandro Caldebenos. This is the leader of the International Korean Friendship Association. So he's the chief weirdo, I guess, when it comes to these sorts of things. But he also runs tours in North Korea for in case you have no idea who we're talking about, which is everyone listening right now. so he very much has this, in my opinion, a little man complex. He's a nobody in Spain or wherever he lives. I don't mean to be rude, but to give you a sort of a picture of him, for those listening or watching, he's kind of just like a dork, and he's a nerdy, dorky dude who doesn't have a lot going on. But when he's in North Korea, he's the cool foreign guy that is the chief of all of the international tourists that can come and go from North Korea. And he's got a bunch of medals for existing, and a North Korean military uniform that he loves to sort of cosplay and put on and pretend like he's an important guy in North Korea. When my opinion, and I have no real facts for this, is that North Korean military and other high-ranking officials probably look at him like the biggest dumbass that they can use and abuse, and he is just a toy for them to try and get money and recognition. I don't think he's important at all.
I think that we can quite agree on that. I was in Tarragona with Alejandro after I went to North Korea with Mr. James to do a debrief. And in a point in the meeting, Alejandro, he wanted to show me so I could tell Mr. James that he took security really seriously. So he bought this bug detector. Is it called in English?
Yeah, like a bug detector.
Yeah.
So Alejandro has this device that can detect. So you go to Alejandro's house or bar to meet with him after going to North Korea, and Alejandro wanted to say, hey man, we're doing some 007 shit right here. I've got this bug detector. But meanwhile, you have cameras hidden in your stuff. You've got your audio recording devices. So you must have been pretty unexcited, I would say, or excited in the wrong way to see his bug detector.
Yeah, well, I think at that point we have been talking together like an hour and a half. And I had a computer bag with a camera and a microphone. No, 2 microphones and 1 camera. And I had a camera on myself and 1 or 2 microphones as well. And he just suddenly stands up and says, hey, I got to show you something. And he just walked around me and I just looked over my shoulder and see. And the minute he came out, I could see this frequency thing on the screen going up and down. I was like, okay, this is it. And I was like, just relax for a few seconds. And
you must have been ready to sort of like either throw up or run out of the room or something.
Yeah, but then I was like quite comfortable because he didn't wanted to test me out. He just wanted to show me that
he was bragging about his new toy. Yeah.
But then when he came near me, is of course starting to react. And luckily, I have a small bag on the table with a car key in. It was like an electric car key who could send signals to the car and start the car from a mile away or something. But if you look at the recordings, I put in my arms like I do here, because then he couldn't, get directly.
You put your arm across your body so he couldn't get close to the microphone.
Yeah.
He was blocked by it, and you're holding out your car key. Try it on this.
Yeah.
That was good thinking, man. I got to hand it to you.
And he just bought it. And when he sat down and we just talked like 20 minutes more or something, and I said to him, well, it's a good thing, but we need to buy a bigger one, a better one. I told him, because we talked about he couldn't buy one for $2,000 or something, I don't remember. And this was the cheap one. I said, we need the good one so we can test out for the next time, and please do it every time before we come.
Yeah,
and then
that was good thinking. Hey, please make sure we're in a secure environment as you walk out with your 2 microphones and your camera.
Yeah, this is insane. But when I came out, I put my earphones in and connected to my phone, and I had to walk 300 meters down to the car, and I just turned on Metallica, Hardwired to Self-Destruct, and just like walk. And then when I came in the car, I called I had a camera specialist with me who has put up the things, and I arranged with him, when I'm finished, I call you and I pick you up at that spot. And I drove down and he came in and I said, well, listen, he just took this fucking sorry. He just took this out.
No, that's okay.
And he said,
he took out the bug detector and gave me a bug sweep. Like, what am I going to do?
And he was like, what? And he didn't find it. So no. And I think I was driving like 10 minutes, and there was a road on your right, and I just put the car in, And when I
Pulled
stop,
over.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and then I start to, be sweaty, and things start to work up, and I just need to have up the microphone and the camera of my body and a new shirt on, and I was like, whoa, close call.
Close call.